Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Supernatural. Holy shit, a great season finale. So much great stuff went down. We need to break it all down. First and foremost, obviously picking up where last week's episode left off. Jack is super pissed because it's like Sam Dean lied to him. Obviously, the box tried to hold him. That didn't work out. Obviously, there's a whole difference of opinion about where should... Like I said before, it's like you have Dean being more on the let's kill Jack side. We have Castiel being on the more of like we need to save Jack side. And Sam was kind of caught in the middle because he feels both feelings at the same time. So... Dean is kind of saying, like, we're going to have to put Jack down, but Castiel is like, no, the fact of the matter is we got to find some other way. And it's saying, like, oh, we'll put him down like any other monster. And Castiel is like, you don't believe that. And Dean's like, yeah, I do. Because that's such a shame, because it's like, Dean even says it later on, it's like, yeah, the kid was family, but the fact of the matter is we have to put him down. Like, he isn't Jack anymore. Because obviously, once again, it's like Dean is filled with so much rage. It's actually interesting what Castiel was actually trying to do. He was trying to get taken to hell so he could see what the cage looks like, because what he wanted to do is find, because obviously the cage was built to hold Lucifer. It held Lucifer and Michael, in fact. So he was trying to, try to see if they can make another one like that to hold Jack. At the very least, get him confined until they find some other means of dealing with this. But once again, you have Dean so dead set on killing Jack. Then you have Jack, who just after learning like the people he cares about most in this world, the people he considered family, are like lied to him. He hears all these different people talking and stuff like that, and he's like, you know what? No more lying. Stop lying. And in that instant, using his powers, he ends up making everyone in the world stop lying, which is a complicated thing, especially for Sam and Dean when they to do their job. They kind of have to lie to people and stuff like that. And it's like, no, yeah, my name is Dean Winchester. I'm looking for the devil's son, and this FBI badge is fake. Obviously, it's to the point without people being able to lie, people go a little stir crazy. The truth, can be ugly sometimes. And lo and behold, who shows up? Did not expect that. Lo and behold, it's freaking Chuck. He's back. I also love this little nod that I thought was kind of interesting. It's like, oh yeah, the president, he's going off telling the truth. He's talking about all the stuff about his taxes, about connections to Russia, to North Korea, and he made a deal with a demon named Crowley. I'm like, yay! Just because I'm like, oh yay! It's, obviously it's been like 2 seasons since we lost Crowley, but it's nice to still see that his work is still out there. He's still doing his quote unquote good work in a twisted sense. But it's just neat that it's like, of course, even beyond the grave, Crowley's doing his thing. I love it. But Chuck shows up, and the whole question then becomes like, wait, where have you been this entire time? He said something interesting too, like people need to be able to lie. It's the only way to keep peace. Even Castiel's like, I would literally not expect that from you of all people. He's like, why not? I'm a writer. We literally make our livings off of lying. And I'm like, that's so interesting. You wouldn't expect God being like, oh yeah, lying is good. It keeps peace. It's like, you would think you'd want peace to be built on a foundation of trust and honesty, not fabrications. But that's interesting. I guess that should have been like the first mark to be like, okay. But I love, they're like, okay, so where you been, Chuck? He's like, well, that's a long story. And he's about to play a song, and Dean takes the guitar and smash it to pieces. It's like, shut up and tell us the truth. And it's like, where's Amara? Well, Amara's in Reno, because it's like, him and her have been having some family bonding time and stuff like that. So that's interesting. But it also turns out, and there's that whole conversation of the fact of the matter is, why now? Why does it almost seem like you're not there for every other major event? It's almost like every other major event. It's like you're there, but you're never there for like the big marks all across the board. You showed up when the Mara, because she was hunting you down, planning to wipe you out in pretty much everything in existence. So it's like, that's when you step in. But it's like, the apocalypse has happened on multiple occasions. There have been some like super duper terrible shit that's kind of gone down that you haven't stepped in. I love him being like, the fact is, I kind of free hands about this whole situation. I kind of leave you guys to run the playground the way you want to. You want to fight Leviathan? Sure, go ahead. Why you specifically chose Leviathans? I'm curious. Like, I don't know. I guess I had to pick something a little far back because that's like season 7, so I guess that's just interesting. But then it's like, yeah, go ahead. You want to fight the British men and letters? Kind of weak, but okay. I love that because it's just, I think that's kind of like the show probably taking a piss out of itself, just because it's kind of like, yeah, that wasn't like the greatest, like scary end of the world thing, but it's like, hey, you went up against the British men and letters. Maybe people had said that about season 12, and they kind of, that's their way of kind of referencing back to it, and like I said, kind of taking the piss out of themselves, not taking themselves too seriously. Maybe the writers of the show decided to come up with something like that. That's what I'm interpreting that as. But I thought that's kind of interesting. And then you have like the whole, well, Chuck is offering a gun that can kill Jack, but basically because there's kind of a balance to everything, anything you do to Jack will happen to you. So if you kill Jack, you kill yourself, and obviously Cassio isn't down for that. It's like he's going to try and find another way. And then Sam and Dean had that conversation because obviously, once again, it's like Dean is so mad. It's like the fact of the matter is he almost wanted to blame Mom. It's like, I get it. I was mad at him. Sam is like, hell, I'm still mad at him. The fact is there's part of me that's going to want him dead, but the fact of the matter is it's Jack. How can we, like, we've literally gone through hell and back to do a lot of stuff, and you're just going to go and try and kill him? You're not even going to try to save him? It's like the fact of the matter is, you know whose fault it is? He's like, it's mine. I brought Jack back. I put him in this situation, and Sam had brought that up before. It's like, Jack didn't want to come back, but I kind of forced that upon him. And like, we've seen what happens in the past when Sam and Dean kind of force their feelings, their wants above someone else's. Shit kind of goes wrong because of that. There's been plenty of instances where, like, let's not forget the whole Mark of Cain. Dean made it clear how he stood on it, but Sam didn't want to give up on him. The whole Sam's body falling apart because of the trials that ended up leading to the angels falling from Earth. That falling to Earth. What did Dean do? He couldn't let Sam go, so that happened to the whole God, what was the angel that possessed his body? I'm blanking on his name now. But that whole situation. So there's been multiple examples of it. And Sam's like, the fact of the matter is, I brought him back because he was family. And you know what he did afterwards? He saved both of our lives. He burned away his soul to save us from Michael. And so now you're telling me to be okay. You want my permission to be like, nah, it's cool for both you and him to disappear from my life. And once again, it's that thing of like, it's not fair because Jack, it's in his circumstances because he sacrificed for you guys, and it's like he gets punished for that, you know? And even Sam is like, the fact of the matter is, I've lost too much already, so I'm not going to be okay with this, you know? Then you have Jack going to visit his grandmother, but his grandmother's not all that happy to see him because it's like, you said this about Kelly, but the fact is you actually don't really work with Kelly. The fact of the matter is we looked into you and no one knew about who you were. I think my daughter's dead. What did you do to her? And obviously it seemed like Jack might have done something to her, but he didn't. Because I think in that moment when he saw how terrified she was, I think it was kind of him staring at the mirror, realizing how scary he's become. It's like, that's why Sam and Dean are trying to lock me up because of this. And so he ended up leaving because for him, he blames himself because it's like, hey, I killed my mom. And for such a long time, I hated myself for it. And now I don't feel anything anymore, you know, and that's a tough position that he's in. Once again, it's like the whole thing of like, he can't help himself. He doesn't have a soul. His situation is different just because it's like, I mean, once again, everyone else is managed. What about Sam? You weren't the same way about Sam. You're not like this with Donatello, but it's because of who Jack is, because he's the powerful being that he is, that him without a soul is scary. Also led to some interesting conversations with God where it's, you know, you have Sam being like, well, what about you? You know, do you just abandon the worlds that you've made and stuff like that? Because it's like the whole like, oh yeah, where did you get this Archangel blade? He's over there fiddling with it, like kind of playing Zorro with it a little bit. It's like from another way. It's like, oh, right, other worlds, right? And so Sam, it's like, Michael said the fact is you make worlds and just abandon them. He's like, do you believe him? It's like, well, is it true? He's like, no, of course not. And the fact of the matter is, he's like, basically, it's kind of that fourth wall breaking thing of like, obviously Chuck fourth wall breaks because he is God and he's a writer, and this whole thing is kind of his show that he writes, but obviously it plays into the fact is that this is in fact a TV show, so it's a whole thing. But for him, it's like, you guys are my favorites. Like amongst all the Sam and Deans in the multiverse, you guys are my favorite. Because for him, it's like, do you just like sit back and just watch us, like everything we've been through? And he's like, yeah, because you guys are my favorite show. And it's like, wait, what? And so there's the whole Cassiel situation of him trying to find a way to help, you know, Jack, but then Dean shows up, and so it turns into the whole thing of like, Jack is ready. He's like, no, I need to be put down. He's like, I understand what I did, and the fact of the matter is, you were right all along. I'm a monster. Sam shows up, but Dean ultimately can't pull the trigger, which I'm thankful for. But then you see Chuck kind of snap and go, what? This isn't the way it was supposed to be. It's like, wait, what? What the hell is going on here? And then it starts falling into place. It's like, because you make it seem like, oh, you're so hands off of this. It's like, no, this is the story you've written. Our entire lives, everything that happened to mom, everything that happened to dad, everything that's happened to us in our entire lives, even, the apocalypse situation, everything that's happened over the course of this series has been you manipulating our lives. We're all, and it's like when you actually break it down and think about it, let's not forget, like, he wrote those books. He made that whole situation of pretending like he wasn't God. It's like, oh, maybe I'm just like another prophet, but I'm writing these books about you guys, the supernatural books. And it's like, oh, the terrible stuff. Because even then he was like, oh, the terrible stuff I've done to you. And it's like, when you look at that in retrospect now, it's like, was that bullshit then? All that stuff about like, oh, you felt so terrible because you're like, oh, I wrote this stuff for your lives. They're like, no, you didn't write it. The fact of the matter is you're a prophet of the God, so you're basically predicting the future and stuff like that. But it's like, no. Now with that knowledge, it's like, no, Chuck did write that on purpose because he's an asshole. It's like, wow, that's really interesting going that direction with this whole situation. Because it turns out, like, for him, like, this is his greatest show. It's like, oh, come on, Dean, you need to kill Jack. Come on, the father kills the son. It's like some Abraham and Isaac shit. And it's like, because even then, like, he was smirking, because I was thinking, like, okay, what we're going to find out is that God's got a plan, that this whole thing was pushing Dean in a position where he'd end up doing the right thing of, like, not killing Jack. That's what I was waiting for. I was thinking, oh, that's going to be the twist. And it's like, no, the real twist is he wanted this to go down. Because I was like, on some level, are you scared of Jack? I wonder, is that what it is? But it seems like that might not necessarily be the case. It shows that he's more powerful than Jack. So it's like, I guess he was never afraid. It's just this is all his entertainment purposes. I also love the fact that he brought up that whole point of like, oh, Billy, always sticking her nose in someone else's business. He's like, that's why I like the old Death. He was in, he was all about fried pickles and what was the other thing he had said? Oh, tickle porn. It's like, wait, what? That's so interesting. Would have never thought that, considering old Death, but nevertheless. So that in itself is interesting. Like, this has just been some big twisted game for him, and it's like, fine, you don't want to play the game anymore, fine, it's all said and done, you want me to go to hell, fine, this is the end. And basically he kills Jack, and it seems like he's always been able to kill Jack. It's like, and as Cassio says later on, he's a writer. He lies. He always had the power to kill Jack. To be fair, he made a weapon that could kill Jack. When you think about it, it's like, well, he crafted a weapon that could kill Jack, so of course he could. Which also begs the question, he could have actually made Jack a soul if he wanted to. He was like, actually, it's a whole complicated thing, but like every time you turn around, like making, like, oh, you made souls in the first place, so you can do something. In this case, he's kind of like, not exactly. What does that not exactly mean? But for him, it's like, oh, would you even want to? Like, he did kill your mom and everything. It's like, you can tell, like, he was staring the pot when you look at it, like, retrospect. It's like, it's so interesting because Chuck has always been like, yeah, he's been kind of like the non-hands-on God and everything, and yeah, he's not always been reliable, but it seemed like, hey, he's a decently good guy. But now it puts everything in perspective of like, nope, I think God just made himself the main antagonist of the show. I was completely wrong about Jack. I thought it was going to be Jack, but man, oh man, was I wrong. This was a big twist. Sam tries to shoot God with the gun, but it's not going to do anything. It ends up shooting him, but it ends up working on Sam too. But it's like, of course it's not going to work on him because, like, he cheats. The rules don't apply to him because he's as powerful as he is. So he decides, you know what? It's time for Endgame. I know. And not his words, obviously, but that's just me saying that. And obviously Endgame literally comes out tomorrow. Actually today, I think, at the time of recording this. But nevertheless, it's that situation of like, he's basically bringing hell on earth. He's releasing all the souls from hell and everything. It's like, yo, so Sam and Dean are surrounded. Jack is dead, but Jack's in the empty, but he's not alone. He's there talking to the empty, and Billy being there like, we need to talk, because now I think it's like God is kind of officially going off the edge, and now he's willing just to kind of blow the whole smokestack. Like, the fact of the matter is, he doesn't care about his other worlds, and I think this was the last world he cared about because Sam and Dean turned out to be so important to him. They became his entertainment, but now it's like, you know what? You're no longer entertaining. You're just annoying your aunt. It's time to wipe the board clean. I think that's on some, like, I think that's where this is heading. Like, obviously we see, like, spirits, evil souls from hell, like, popping up all over the place, and it's like, dude. And so it's like, wait, what is going on here? I did not see that coming. Obviously, like if you are unaware, the show is coming back for a 15th season. But this 15th season will be the final season. And the way this shit ended, of course, you can see it. I wasn't sure how they were going to wrap this up. I feel like this is a big way to wrap this up. Granted, I'm also curious to see how long the season is. It's probably going to be short. It's probably going to be half, if not less than half. Because even Arrow, if you don't know, Arrow's final season, season 8, is going to be like 8. I mean, it's going to be 10 episodes. Crazy. It's like every show does that. I still need to look up why. Like, I did not realize, like, literally every show. I thought I might have been exaggerating. It's like, no, pretty much every show does. It's a whole conversation in itself. But holy crap. I think this is going to be a conversation where it's like literally everything and everyone trying not to get wiped out from this, because there's no pulling favors. I think we're going to have hunters. We're going to have demons. We're going to have angels. We're probably going to have a lot of supernatural creatures joining forces to make this happen. Once again, it's like Jack isn't dead, so it's like, is Billy and, you know, the Empty going to try and resurrect him? Will Lucifer have anything to do with it? Obviously, he's still in the Empty. Or I just interpreted that as him pushing him back into the Empty. Did he straight up kill his dad in that moment? Would be symbolic, considering the fact is it would be if he killed Lucifer and then he ultimately ended up just killing Nick as well. But he might have just pushed Lucifer back into the Empty, but he might have straight up killed him. I thought he just pushed him in, but now I'm sitting there thinking about maybe he's dead. Either way, there's a lot. Obviously, we're also dealing with the multiverse situation, so this isn't just this world situation. It's kind of like the entire existence and universe and everything. Makes you wonder, is Amara going to pop up? Because maybe, you know, which is interesting, because now that begs the question of, if he wanted to, couldn't he have stopped his sister? But it's just because it's like, oh no, it wouldn't have been a compelling story. Like I said, it's just, like I said, the fourth wall breaking aspect to this is going to be crazy next season. Obviously, like I said, the show is coming to an end, and obviously this is about him bringing the show to an end and the whole thing, you know, so it's going to be interesting. Like, will Sam and Dean be alive at the end of it? Will they have their happily ever after? Obviously, remember, the Empty is supposed to be coming after Castiel when he's at his happiest. That's supposed to be the price he pays, and that might still be something we see go down. I don't know. Are they going to try and build a cage for God? Is it going to be a thing of like they end up changing his mind? Is it just going to be a thing of they actually have to kill God? But like the way he kind of put it, it's like, if I go, so does the entire universe. So is it going to be a thing of like they end up killing God and it's like, oh yeah, the world is restored to the way we kind of are in control of our own destiny type of thing? I have no idea how this whole thing is going to play out. I'm very excited to see how the 15th and final season plays out. Once again, that's still kind of crazy to even begin to say that. Like, oh yeah, Supernatural in its 15th season. Dude, I remember when this show aired back in 2005, back when this network was originally the WB. It feels like a lifetime ago, and to think that the show is coming to an end after all these years is insane. That's crazy. It's literally going to be the end-all be-all going forward from here, and I'm so fascinated to see what they do with all this, what ends up playing out. Did Billy see all this coming? Did this kind of surprise him? I mean, God kind of has the powers that he does, so, I mean, but let's not even forget what Death had said before. Even God gets raped. You know, he had said that years ago, that eventually he turned his sight against God, because even God can't escape death. So that, I think, speaks volumes, and I think that's why Billy's coming to Jack, because it's like, yeah, you're probably like the closest powerful being in existence that can stop him. Let's also not forget, even if the angels do get involved, there's literally less than, they're all in the single digits at this point in time. They're one more down now that Duma's dead. So I'm curious, is that going to be God like amassing his army? Or to be fair, Jack made a few more angels, so they might be above a dozen now. They might be in the 2 digits again, but is God going to make more angels? Like, what is he going to do? Are there going to be demons that decide to join his? I doubt that, because I'm sure he's wiping any and everything out, so no one's safe. So that's why I was like, I think everyone and everything is going to join forces. I'm curious, you know, what does this mean about, you know, heaven and stuff like that? Like about the people and souls in heaven. Obviously, he released all the evil souls in hell. Like, does that mean we're going to see souls from heaven kind of released too? We're going to see like John and Mary return, as well as a whole bunch of other people. Like I said, probably going to, like, what about Dark Kaya? We haven't seen her in a while. Like, obviously, like, there's the new generations of, like, you know, Patience and Claire and Alex kind of being hunters and everything. Like, what about them? We haven't seen them for a while. We might be seeing this kind of being their rise as they kind of fight this fight. Like, and it's a conversation I brought up earlier in this season too, about the fact is that there's a whole conversation of like, why don't you let everyone know about the supernatural? But it's like, you can't really let them know that. It's like, at this point in time, it's not going to matter. The world of supernatural is spreading out. Everyone's going to be knowing about the supernatural. I think everyone's going to get well armed up in the situation, in the sense of, because it's such a wide world apocalypse like none before. I think that it's going to be like Apocalypse World in the other world. So I think we're going to see kind of aspects of that, kind of like where even regular people are getting armed up and stuff like that. Maybe we'll get some more Charlie. Like I said, I'm thinking that everyone's going to know about the supernatural world going forward, that the world will never be the same. That depends on how they handle everything. Like I said, in the final season, like, I'll leave my thoughts to be what they are until we get to the final season, but it's going to be crazy and I'm so excited. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.